All right, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers offensive line, which I think is the Niners are getting a ton of positive attention heading into this season. It makes sense, right? They were just in the conference championship and maybe could have won it if they didn't have so many injuries. So now, going into another year, plenty of things that could go well. And then people are talking about, okay, well, how good is the quarterback situation, which is also a fair thing to talk about. But one thing that just isn't getting enough attention to me is they have been sort of losing some offensive linemen year after year now. And I have some real concerns about what this could look like heading into the season. First, let's just talk about the 5 offensive linemen, because, listen, I get it. Not everyone, if you're not a 49ers fan, maybe knows every single offensive lineman. So these are the 5 guys who I believe will be starting, at least preseason game 1. They will probably go into the season as the starter. I also put a couple of backups sort of on the bottom of the list who maybe could come in. But the 5 starters, and this is going from left tackle to right tackle, and that's also where they ranked in terms of Pro Football Focus grades. Trent Williams is obviously a superstar, and there's no notes with Trent Williams, right? He is, debatably the best player in football. He is that good. So that's definitely the big bright side, is that you have, what most people consider to be the most important, position on the offensive line. You have the best offensive lineman in the league at that position. So, you feel pretty good there. But if you look at the other 4 positions, none of them, if you like PFF grades, feel that particularly great. Aaron Banks and Jake Brendel, I think are fine. I'm not going to talk about them too much in this video. If those are your weak spots in an offensive line, you don't feel terrible about it. Again, worth mentioning, Brendel, the center, obviously only 32 starting centers instead of 64, so you're going to usually get around like 40 eligible centers, whereas you get around like 80 eligible tackles and guards. So the 20th is kind of more equivalent to like 40th for the other positions. So again, we're talking middle of the road, mediocre for those 2 guys, which is fine. And that's just, again, this is just their last season. Although for Aaron Banks, it doesn't really matter because this is only his 2nd year, and in his first year, he had just 5 snaps. But it is worth mentioning he was a 2nd-round pick who's only had 1 year being a starter, so there's reason to believe Banks could take a step up. I think the bigger concerns I really have would be Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz, already 2 guys that, I want to watch some film and talk about them. Worth mentioning John Feliciano and Matt Pryor. Feliciano is a center, Pryor a tackle. Those are guys who maybe could be coming in and getting some playing time as well. I do not hate them at all as depth players, but still, you need some guys who can be starters. Do they have that? Let's start off talking about Colton McKivitz, who, if you noticed, I didn't give him a PFF grade because he's barely played. He's only played a little bit. So he's 2020 5th-round pick. Kind of played like that so far. Although I do have to say, we finally got a little bit of playing time when he played against the Rams, and I thought showed some nice things. I didn't think he was a disaster whatsoever. I mean, there were some not great plays as well, like this one. What's going to happen here? He's playing left tackle here. Williams was out this game, so McKivitz came in. He played left tackle, which he will be playing right tackle this season. Maybe that will help him. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But as you see, when this play begins, he really does get driven back a good deal to the point where another 49ers player actually had to help him out and make sure that he finished off this block. Otherwise, it could have been a loss of several yards. Now, again, San Francisco is very good at this kind of thing. They block very well. As you see, because of that, everyone else made their blocks, and you were still able to get a touchdown on this play. So, hey, it didn't hurt you this year, but maybe with some less talent around him, could it be more of an issue? Potentially. It was a missed block. I mean, that's just, at the end of the day, that's what happened, which, this was a real thing. Although I would say, for the most part, I was surprised by, I would say in a pleasant way, from what I saw from him in this game against the Rams. Like, this play is a good example where what's going to happen is I thought his pass blocking was like actively good. I had really no major issues with his pass blocking in the 20 pass blocking snaps I saw him play. Like, what's going to happen? And he played some other games as well, but barely. So this is the only game he really had a chance to get a rhythm in and stuff like that. But anyways, watch what's going to happen on this play. as you see right off the bat, the edge rusher is really going to try to just use power to try and overpower, McKivitz here. That's the goal on this one. But as you see, it doesn't really work. Again, pressure came from the other side, but even if that play went on for a bit, I felt pretty good that McKivitz was going to be in a good spot, and for the most part, he was. So there are reasons for optimism, but he's certainly a huge wild card, I would say. Also going over to the right guard, Spencer Burford, who, again, he can do some nice things. Like, starting off with a positive play, what's going to happen here is he's going to pull over from the offense's right to the offense's left to block the edge rusher, and he's really capable of doing these sort of unique things that the Shanahan offense, ask. Watch how he does pull over, and he is able to make that block on the edge very well. That was a good play, and this is kind of one of the things that I haven't brought up much, but it's obviously a big point of this whole situation is just the Shanahan scheme. And Shanahan asks not even just a lot of his offense, but a lot of different things of his offense. He wants a lot of unique things to happen. That's a big part of how he runs things. If you're a guard, your job isn't just to, double team interior defensive linemen and, go up to the next level and block linebackers every single running play. You're going to do a lot of different things. You are. If you're a tackle, you're not just going to block the edge rusher every play. And I do think that he is pretty capable of doing that from what I've seen. He's had a little bit more of a sample size. He was a 4th-round pick who played last season, had 800 snaps. Again, like you saw in the PFF grades, didn't grade overly well. And there just were plays like this one where, he's supposed to double team the interior defensive lineman and then get up to block the linebacker. But he kind of just does this almost like he hesitates a little bit. Like, first, watch what he does right at the beginning of this play. See, right up off the bat, he's hesitating. Again, this looks to be zone blocking, so you don't necessarily, it's not like you have a specific guy you're supposed to go up and block. That's not how that works necessarily. You're just kind of supposed to block your area, but he's not really blocking anyone immediately. He kind of didn't have a plan until the ball was already snapped, which to me tells me that he is just still young. He then goes over and blocks the interior defensive lineman, which, he didn't really have to do. And then the linebacker came over and was able to help disrupt that play a little bit. I'm not sure if it would have mattered either way, but he was able to come in there and, it was an interior defensive lineman who made the tackle, but he was right in that area as well. So there were these small things that I didn't notice and were part of why he maybe didn't grade overly well, but the hope is that he's a young player who could continue to get better. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.